This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CashFly.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by Tracker. Tracker makes losing things a thing of the past. Pair Tracker to your smartphone, attach it to any item, and find its precise location with the tap of a button. Visit thetracker.com right now and enter the promo code KNOWHOW for 30% off your entire order. And by IT Pro TV. IT Pro TV is an easy, entertaining approach to online IT training. For a free 7-day trial and 30% off the life of your account, go to itpro.tv/knowhow and use the code KNOWHOW30. Today on Grow How,
you'll know how to choose a grow tent.
Welcome to Know How. It's the Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I'm Father Robert Ballas.
I'm Bryan Burnett.
And once again, this is a Grow How edition of Know How.
I'm sensing a theme.
Yeah.
You know, greening,
greening, growing, thingy.
Stuff.
Go figure.
Huh. All right. So what do we got today?
Well, today we're going to be talking about something that people have been wanting to talk about for a while. And that is, well, okay, you've given us soil, you've given us water, you've given us light, but what do we grow the thing in?
Oh, right. There's still another component, isn't there?
There's a couple of other pieces that we're slowly putting it together. We're doing it the right way. We're doing it nice and slow. We're taking our time on every component because every component of the grow is important.
Right.
You can't have good soil without having good water. You can't keep it healthy without having good lighting. You can't have good lighting unless you've got a good enclosure. And of course, a good enclosure has to have ventilation, which will make it easier for you to water, which will make it easier for you to keep your soil intact. So all of these things need each other.
Right. And if you don't have any idea of those things, go back and watch those episodes, or you might end up like what I did to my plant.
Yeah, we'll see your poor little bonsai in just a bit. But first, we got to go through some basic knowledge about what it means to have a grow room. Now, Bryan, the best way to do an indoor grow, because remember, we're talking about indoor grows here.
Yeah.
The best way is to have a room that's dedicated to the grow.
Right.
Yeah, so it's something that you can seal off, something that hopefully has a window, something that maybe has access to exterior vents, either through the walls or through the ceiling.
Okay.
That kind of a room is perfect for your grow setup.
Because so not like your kitchen or your bedroom or,
Yeah, you want something where you can bring in fresh filtered air from the outside. You want to be able to exhaust the used air, the air that's been laden down with humidity and such outside of the building. You want to be able to do what I call cleanliness of the room. So only the things that are needed for the grow are actually inside the grow room.
Okay, yeah. You don't want any contaminants or any bugs getting in.
Precisely. That also means no pets, and it also means, like in my grow room, I actually have clothes that I only wear in the grow room. Because you don't want to bring out outside clothes that might have come into contact with outside plants. The whole idea of having it inside is you can precisely control all of the environmental variables. Why would you destroy that by wearing jeans that you just trolled through a field in?
Right. But for some reason now I'm imagining, one of those government testing rooms where you like step into an airlock, suit up, and then like get repressurized and cleansed and then walk into like the main room.
Actually, what I found is the most effective thing is just don't wear clothes in your grow room.
I did not need to know that. I did not need to know that.
No.
It shocks the plants.
The plants are all dead now.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is, most of us, unless we have really nice houses out in the middle of someplace where we can afford it, we can't dedicate an entire room to growing. It'd be nice, but
I have a closet, maybe.
That's good. Yeah. Closets are good. And in fact, some people just set up in a closet. They'll use that like its own grow room, right? They'll close the door, they'll set up all their lights. The thing is, that's not the easiest setup because that means all the access you have is from the front.
Right, and then all your clothes start smelling kind of like earthy.
Oh, you mean a closet that you also had clothes in?
Should I not?
Yeah, okay, no, definitely not. Let's not do that. So what we're going to be looking at is the use of a grow tent. A grow tent is the easiest way and probably the least expensive way for you to get a professional grow environment that, again, that you can control all the environmental variables, but you get to choose one that fits the size of room that you have for your grow. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me.
And you'll get all of the same benefits of having a grow room. You'll be able to precisely control lighting. You'll be able to precisely control humidity and temperature. You'll be able to keep the pests out. You'll be able to control your irrigation. The only difference is now you can like choose a corner of the room to put it in.
Sweet, yeah.
Let's go ahead and start off with a little something that I brought in. This is the smallest of the grow tents that I have.
That's the smallest?
This is the smallest. I use this for germination and seedlings.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a Millard. It's a, I believe this one is what, 36 inches by 18 inches by 36 inches. So the whole idea is I've got this flap. If you can get that one on your side, Brian. Yeah, thank you for going to the wide. Get that.
Oh,
no, this one.
That one.
There we go.
Got it.
And this one zips down like so. And what I have now is I have this.
Whoa.
Now notice that it's entirely reflective. So I've got mylar on the inside. And the reason why I do that is because I want all the power from my lights to end up with my plants, which are going to be down here.
Right.
If this was like a black surface, what would happen is it would just absorb that light and would turn it into heat.
So it's going to reflect it back, reusing light and stuff
Precisely.
like that. Cool.
So it should be far more efficient, far more effective. Also notice that I've got a couple of things here. I've got these vents, which are going to allow me to do things like put in ducting.
See, I thought they were like, you know, you stick your hands in to, without having to.
You're really kind of stuck on this whole government clean facility,
right?
aren't you?
Like, I'm dealing with the isotopes right now. Hold on.
Okay. Well, I guess you could use that for, but what I would use it for is that one would be for, say, the irrigation input for a main line. This one would be for ventilation to exhaust out, so I'd put a fan up top. And then this one would be, or this one would be for input. So I would put a fan blowing air in so I could be exchanging. Now, there's a couple of nice things about this tent. The first thing is, of course, the size. This could pretty much be put anywhere.
Yeah, you could fit, yeah, this would fit in my closet.
Yeah, and also, if you look here, I kind of like this feature. I don't like to open my grow tent unless I really have to. That's why I put a camera inside my tents so that I can see them.
Like a nest or something?
Exactly, because every time you open up the tent, you're, potentially letting in pests. But this has this.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a little window. It's like, oh, hi, plants.
You
How
guys
doing?
doing all right in there? You staying cozy? All right.
Because remember, the light coming out of this thing is going to be incredibly pink. And it's not great for your eyes because it has IR and UV. So don't leave it open all the time. But that's why it has this. Now, we'll get back to this in just a bit. But I do want to go over what we need in order to choose the right grow tent. Because the temptation, and I understand this because
just build a cardboard box. Did you build your own?
Build a cardboard box.
Yeah.
Which will last halfway through the grow, and then the humidity from the plants actually start making the, don't do that.
I was going to say, when you're done growing stuff in it, you can use it for a fork.
Well, no, yes, but the other thing that we also do is we just buy it. We're like, oh, that looks good, buy it. There's a few things you really should consider if you are going to go the grow tent route. Remember, before we buy the tent, the first thing that we need to do is consider all of the equipment we're actually going to be putting inside of it.
Okay, cool.
Because it's nice to say, oh, look, this looks pretty big, yeah?
Right, yeah.
And look.
And then nothing fits in it?
Nothing fits in it. Because, I mean, imagine what's going inside. We're going to have ventilation. Yeah. There's going to be lighting. There's going to be irrigation. There's going to be the pots for the plants. So I need to consider all of the equipment that I'm going to be putting inside of this tent because that's going to determine the size. If I think I'm going to be putting an HID light in here, a high intensity discharge light, which needs the plants to be at least 2 feet away from it, that means I've only got the bottom foot to grow my plants in. That's
you were saying this is just your germination tent?
That's just my germination
getting them
plant.
started.
So it's going to be CFLs up top, so they can go all the way up the top. And I essentially grow my plants until they get about this high, and then I move them over to one of the other tents.
Okay, cool.
So consider what's going inside. The second thing to consider is consider the space that I'm putting the tent into.
Yes. So what is your space that you're putting the tent
So
into?
I've got standard Jesuit rooms. They were built as cells. Actually, that's what we call them.
Sounds luxurious.
Cells. So I have, it's a nice square room, and I've got a window. So I want the tent up against the window because I want that to be able to draw cool air in and
Right.
push hot air out, right? So always look for that because that might determine the shape of your tent. For example, there are very different sizes. I mean, this is one of the smaller ones that I've ever bought, but I do have one that's 8 feet by 8 feet by 10 feet.
Wow.
And so in order for me to get in, I'm going to need another 4 or 5 feet in front of the tent in order to enter and mess with the plants.
Does that fit in the place that you have?
Just barely.
Like, does it go straight up to the ceiling?
It's up on the ceiling.
Wow.
Yeah, it's up on the ceiling, and it's literally I have 5 feet from the front of the tent to the other wall.
Wow.
So there's no space at all. But I was able to choose that because I measured out my space. I measured out how much distance I would need between the front of the tent and the wall. And then I also looked at things of like, okay, where are the windows? Where are the power sockets? Where is access to water?
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
so consider the room that you're going to be putting in. The third thing, and this is really important, consider what you're going to grow. Now, if you're growing something like this,
You just put that on the kitchen table.
I could put this on the kitchen table, or, I mean, this would actually stay, even in its mature stage, under about 1.5 feet.
Yeah.
It's never going to get more than about 18 inches, maybe up to this point.
We got lettuce and some basil.
Precisely. Now, so in that case, a tent like this might actually take me through the full grow. I could put fluorescent lights up top or LED lights up top, and I can grow the entire thing in there. But if I was going to grow something like the beans, the snap beans, they're already way too big for this tent.
Yeah.
So look at what you might want to grow and what you might want to grow in the future. And if you're going to be mixing your crops, like for example, if I want to grow lettuce and basil right next to beans, I have to realize that at some point, the beans are going to start throwing shade onto the lower plants.
And not just insulting them,
And
like
not-
literally.
Literally
shade.
throwing shade.
Okay.
So what we like is we like a sea of green. We want the canopy to be about the same height because that means they have all equal access to the light. So for example, what I'll do is I have apple boxes and I will put up the smaller plants so that they're at the same level as the larger plants.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So look at that. And the other thing is look at if you want a continuous grow.
Continue. So there's no breaks, like where you harvest and then let it die, kind of thing. or-
Well, yeah, like that. Remember, a lot of these plants are going to be photosensitive,
Right.
which means that they flip into flowering when they get less than 12 hours of light.
Okay.
Okay, so what for example, some of the plants that I'm growing right now, I'm keeping them in a 18-6 cycle, so 24 hours, 18 hours of light, 6 hours of darkness. They will stay in vegetative state as long as I keep doing 18-6. I could keep them in veg for the next 20 years, and they will never flower as long as they're getting 18-6, because that's how plants know it's time to flower. As the light gets less, they think they're getting later into the summer,
And they're like, okay, gotta start flowering.
gotta start making flowers so I can make the next
Winter
generation.
is coming.
Mankey.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I can do is, if I want to flip a tent, it's going to flip all of the plants in the tent at the same time. I can't just say, okay, you go in the flower and you stay in
Right.
veg,
Individually address plants.
because it's light sensitive. So what I actually have, I have 4 tents. I have the super big tent,
Yep.
and that's where I do.
That's just grow.
That's
right?
grow. That's veg. Then I have a 4x4x8 tent, which we actually are going to see in the segment, that I use for flower. So when I want something to flower, I will move it into that tent. That tent is only 12 hours, 12 hours. So 12 hours light, 12 hours darkness. And then I have this, which is my little veg tent. And then I have a smaller, what is a 2 foot by 4 foot by 5 foot. And that's what I kind of use for my oddballs, the ones that don't fit in any category.
That would be the tent that we would be in if we were playing.
I just said that. Can I come out? No, you stay in there. That's
yeah.
So,
Okay.
look at what you're going to put into it, look at where you're going to put the tent, look at the crops that are going to go into the tent, and then look at, do I want this to be a year-long grow, or am I okay with having a single tent that I flip all of the crops inside of it into flower, and then after they flower, they have to either replant because they're going to die because they're annuals, or they have to go back into veg.
Okay.
Right.
So I just have two questions. Like, would you leave a plant in the grow stage so that it would produce more fruit or something like that?
Yes.
Like if you were doing tomato plants or something?
This is one of those general rules. The bigger the plant gets before it switches into flowering, the more flowering you're going to get.
Okay.
So more fruit, more whatever it might be.
And I guess the second question I have, I guess pollination isn't an issue because you're not trying to reproduce plants?
I'm not trying to reproduce. And in fact, when we get again into the more advanced, we're going to be talking about dioecious plants, which are the plants that actually do have a male and female plant. So if you want to pollinate them, you literally have to put them in the same room and kind of like
mash them around. Ooh. You put on like just the red light stuff. Really set the mood for 'em.
Matchmaker!
Yeah, exactly.
you turn on the Barry White music and then, oh yeah. But most of the plants that I grow, I will take clones. So like, let's say I grow 40 bits of lavender. And there's one plant that looks really good. It's super healthy, it's super big, it's grown bigger than any of the others.
Yeah.
That's the one I want to save the genetics. I can actually take a cutting of that, or multiple cuttings, root them, and they will turn into the exact same genetic match.
That's right. And then it strikes fear into the other ones. And you could say, if you don't...
Well, no,
you know,
then you grind them up and you turn
you
them into
feed them?
lavender candy and you feed them to the healthy ones.
wow, Pokemon works just like real life.
Pokemon gives you real life lessons,
Makes
folks.
sense.
Yeah. And we'll be doing that later on, but right now we're just talking about the initial stages. If you want a year-round grow, then maybe you don't go with one huge tent. Maybe you go with 2 smaller tents, or maybe even 3 smaller tents. If you want to grow different types of flowers, different types of plants, another thing to do is to check on the internet and make sure that they're going to interact okay. Some plants do not like growing next to other plants, like chili plants are infamous for messing up other plant growths.
'Cause they're just obnoxious. Nobody wants to be around them.
Hot-tempered,
Yeah,
the Latin.
so hot-tempered.
That's what it is.
Reminds me of a particular TD we have.
Well, I mean, she's a producer now.
Carlita.
So.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, producer.
Okay, now, before we get into the fun stuff, let's talk about a few of the things that, as you build out your grow tent, your grow room, the do's and the don'ts. The first don't is you can go in to out, never out to in.
In to out, but never out to in?
In other words, you can
What are we
take
talking
something
about?
from the indoors and you can take it outdoors.
Oh, but never bring
Never.
something from outdoors in,
Ever.
because then you're contaminating your
do it precisely.
your stuff. Yeah.
Exactly, because once it's outside, you lost all the protection of your tent. So
Right.
we build our tent so it uses filtered air and it has screens to keep the pests out.
Yes.
Well, you bring it outside and it's going to get something. It's probably not going to die from it because it's a nice healthy plant. Healthy plants aren't going to die from pestilence like that. But if you bring that back in, you've now introduced those mold spores, whatever it might be. There's actually plant viruses that you could introduce to the other plants and maybe they won't be able to handle it.
And so if you do that, then you have to like just throw everything out and clean the tent and start
Basically,
over?
Yeah. So I go nuclear. In fact, that
Nuke 'em.
it did happen. So last year, when I was just starting to think about doing the Grow House series, I had a grow tent that I had set up in a common area, and one of the brothers, he's like, "Oh, wow, that looks really cool. I want to put my plant in there." And so he dug it up from outside.
No.
And like put it. And so I come in. I'm like, "No!"
Oh, you monster!
And I thought maybe it will be okay, but
didn't.
sure enough, 6 weeks later, I had spider webs, the spider mites all over. That just kills everything. That's done.
Oh, so those are bad, spider
Those are
mites?
so bad. That's like the worst thing that can happen to your grow.
See, I saw that on my bonsai, and I was like, oh, spiders are helping them out. They're catching bugs and stuff. No?
Okay, I gotta burn everything before I go back home because I just touched your bonsai.
What's a spider mite?
They're teeny tiny creatures and they weave webs, but they kill plants, and it's so hard
Those
to get
little
rid of them.
dicks. This whole time I thought they were helping them. I gotta go out because I got aphids on some of my other ones.
So neem. Get yourself a bottle of neem. Read up on how to use it.
Neem?
Neem. N-E-E-M. Neem oil. You apply it when there's no sun. Don't apply it during the sun, or you will burn the plant. And you're going to have to do several applications.
Because there's other, I have.
But okay, suddenly that just explains a lot of
tangent.
things.
Yeah, that does explain a lot of things. But I have succulents next to it too.
And spider webs.
Yeah, there's spider webs on them.
yeah,
but
those
what
are infected.
aphids got on?
This is what they look like.
Those guys.
Oh,
I've seen them.
no. Oh.
Is that bad?
Yeah, those are horribly bad.
Oh man.
Yeah. Sorry, man.
So.
No, seriously, that's like the worst thing that ever happens to a grower. They come back and they start seeing webs. It's Now, if you catch it early, what you can do is just use like liquid soap in a spray bottle and you spray it down and then wipe it. But I mean, if you've let it go, it's everywhere.
So next to my bonsai are like a couple of pots of succulents, and one had like a flower that came up and it got aphids all over it, and it like killed some of it. And I was like, oh, the spiders will take them out. I guess not.
No, they're buddies, man.
They're working against me.
Okay, the other thing that you can do, and this actually really only does work inside of a grow tent, go to your local nursery and pick yourself up a carton of ladybugs. And just let them out because they will eat both spider mites and aphids.
I've always wanted to buy one of those, but I never had
That's
like
what
a
they're
good
for.
reason. So do you put that in your garden?
You would put it in the tent.
In the tent?
And they will. That's what they do. They're predatory. They will just go after all the spider mites and the aphids.
What do you do when they're done?
They die.
Oh, what?
Or you let them out. I mean, then they won't hurt the plants. So you can leave them. I mean, the longer they stay in there, the better.
Right.
But eventually they're going to run out of things to eat.
Right, and then they starve. All the little ladybugs starve.
It's the circle of life, man.
Wow, I see what's really important to you. Your plants, not the ladybugs. Help us!
Sorry about this tangent, folks, but we just realized why all of Bryan's plants are dying.
Wow, and yeah, gardening is way more metal than
it's pretty metal.
you know I had first envisioned. You're hiring these like little mercenary ladybugs to come take out your bug problem, and then you're like, well, now that you're in there,
the 7 sons are coming to go take Karth or whatever it was. Yeah.
Now that you're trapped in my biodome, you're not coming back out. Like,
they stage a revolt. We're like, we're not eating another aphid until you get us some food.
It's fine, same result. I'll just buy more.
Cheap, like $2 a box. So. So that's why the first rule is in to out, never out to in.
Never out
That's
to in.
That's probably where it came from. And actually, that applies to everything. So not just the plants, but the tools. Unless I disinfect, I will never take tools. That includes things like buckets or snips or things like picks. They will never go from the outside to the in because they're perfect to carry like spider bites inside of your tent.
What about ladybugs? Those are okay to take outside to in? Like if you find them in your garden,
you find them, but I mean,
harvest
you
them
kind of need a
yourself?
concentration, so it's not going to help you that much. But also, that's why clothes. Don't bring your clothes. It's so tempting to just walk in and like open your tent and start playing.
No.
Change your clothes.
Take all your clothes off, then go into the tent.
Spray yourself with bleach.
Yeah. I have to be clean. I have to be clean.
But yeah, so just imagine that your grow tent is now your clean room. And I'll go one step further. The room in which your grow tents are located should be clean rooms. I mean, not to the same extent of putting on a bunny suit and walking through the doorway, but if you, especially, here's a big one. If you've got anything like dead leaves, do not throw them into the waste can inside that room. You want to take them away from the grow room because decaying leaves will actually attract those pests that you don't want.
This is
we're getting up there. We're getting up there. I know. This is why we started easy.
So I shouldn't have my grow tent in the same room that I left the milk in and turned into yogurt. Is that bad? But the dead leaves, as long as I got rid of those.
And you're thinking that I'm mean because I'm going to kill ladybugs. And this one that does affect you.
Yeah.
No pets.
No pets?
Don't put pets.
But Tibbs likes to frolic in the leaves
that
and
room
stuff.
should now be off because they carry things. That's
Should I not be snuggling with him and
as you're holding your bonsai? You're like, hey, you two be friends.
I love you two so much.
That might actually be how the spider mites got in.
I always wondered why Tibbs looks so webby. You know, he's got like these little
spider dog.
Ew.
Spider Tibbs.
Okay, so don't let no pets. Okay. No dead leaves.
Now here's an easy one. Bleach is your friend.
So you're serious about that?
I am very serious. Get a 1 liter spray bottle, fill it, and then add a cup, just a capful, a very small amount of bleach. It's like a 2% solution.
So a full bottle of bleach and just a cap full of water.
Just a cap full of bleach. A cap full of bleach. Don't do that. Someone will listen and they'll be spraying pure bleach on everything. And that's good for surfaces. So like in between grows, I will bleach the inside of my tent. I will
Okay.
kill, annihilate everything. But also any tools that I absolutely need to bring in, like let's say I need a ladder, I will spray the heck out of that ladder and let it dry before I bring it into my grow room.
So what do you do about your clothes then? You just like wash a pair of
you wash-
clothes,
just wash
and
your
then
clothes.
once you go in, you just like leave them there, and then.
Well,
then
no,
go
like I actually have a hook. So I'll take my clothes off and I put the clothes on that are on the hook and I don't let the two touch. What?
This is such an elaborate system.
It's-
but
well, I
I
mean-
understand. Yeah. No.
Yeah, you don't have to go. I mean, the chances are that you could do none of these things, and
It would
you
be-
could probably be okay.
But why take the chance? Yeah.
Why exactly? It
With,
takes so
after
little
all
time.
this work that you put into it, investing in tents and
Yeah.
lights and stuff. Okay.
At the very beginning, when you first start, everyone's like, "Oh, I'll wing it." But
Yeah.
now that you've say put 3 months into the grow, that last month or two, you're really like, "Yeah, I don't want anything to happen to these things because that was a lot of time."
Is it a time investment, a monetary investment?
PC Guy 88 says, "Just burn your clothes."
Well, I do that normally.
It'll be like that movie Gattaca. They have the incinerator. Just
Gattaca!
throw everything. Right? Right? Or go naked. Naked Padre is a healthy Padre.
So have we covered everything? Is there more?
Here's a big one. Because I know our audience, and our audience loves to buy stuff, tabulate every last expense before you buy your first item. This is, I cannot stress this enough because there are very few things that are worse in this grow project than starting it and then realizing you don't have enough money to finish it.
That's just like a general good know-how
It's a general
move,
good know.
Yeah.
But I mean,
budget.
think about this. So grow tent, this is like a $66 grow tent, but like the grow tents that I like, they typically run $120, $125. Then you're looking about at your lights. And like my 300 watt LED lights, those are almost $200 each. Then I look at my ventilation, and I have got a good ventilation system that comes complete with a carbon scrubber because I live in a house with other people and I don't want the manure smells to be making people complain about my grow.
I thought you were saying that the people smelled like manure, and you didn't want that getting
I didn't
into
want
the
their
plants.
smell to get on my plants.
Right.
So it's the other way around.
Okay.
Light hangers, smart pots, all the little accessories are going to cost you, what, $50? You've got soil and nutrients, which will cost you another $50. Then the meters, the water conditioning agents, that's another $25 to $50. And then clip-on fans, because you're going to want air circulation inside the tent, that's $25. So
Let's add it up.
my typical grow per tent is like $625.
Wow. You better start selling those vegetables then, because you're gonna have to pay for those things.
Actually, they were subsidized, so it's okay.
It was for the show. So
dirty,
please
dirty
keep
people.
watching.
Yeah.
We need more plant
Yes.
equipment.
We need way more ads because we need to buy more plant stuff.
Yeah.
But so that's what we're looking at. When we build a grow tent, it's not as simple as buying an enclosure and then putting a bunch of stuff in. Look at everything you want to grow. Look at everything you want to put in. Look at everything that it's going to be put inside, and then look at whether or not you can deal with things like infestations by keeping your room sterile.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of information.
It's a lot of information. Luckily, we're going to make it a lot easier. We've got a video, and I'm sorry the audio quality is not great, but unfortunately my grow room is really noisy, and I had to do some weird stuff with the audio just to make it sound decent.
Oh.
But before we get to that, before I show you how to set up one of these bad mamma jammas, let's go ahead and take a moment to thank the first sponsor of Know How. Hey, Brian,
What's up?
do you lose things?
I constantly lose things,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I don't lose them. I just don't know where I put them last.
What's the number one thing that, and I think the answer is the same for both of us, what's the number one thing that we tend to forget?
It's usually my keys.
Yeah, keys. Yeah, me for keys. Also, my phone.
My phone, my dog, my bonsai.
My wife.
I
Just goes away.
Wife? Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh man.
She usually comes back sooner or later, though. Yeah.
What if I told you that there was a way for you to keep track of your keys, your phone, your dog, your wife, your bonsai, all from the comfort of your phone?
I would be very interested in using that.
Well, good, because it's called the tracker. Now, the tracker is a new kind of GPS location device. Yes, it does connect to your phone via low power Bluetooth. That's Bluetooth LE. And yes, it does allow you to find exactly where you've left an item, but it's got a twist. You see, the tracker uses a mesh system, which means that even if the device is no longer paired with your phone, because of course you've gone way beyond the range, as long as there's another tracker paired to its parent phone somewhere within the range of that, it will still be able to ping you. That's the beauty of the Tracker system. Now, Tracker has put a lot of time and effort into making the ultimate coin-sized device that locates misplaced keys, wallets, bags, computers, even your pets. You just pair Tracker to your smartphone, you attach it to any item, and then you can find its precise location with a tap of a button. You can customize two-way separation alerts to receive notifications before you forget your item. So for example, put one on your bag, and if you are in a cafe and you start to walk away to use the restroom, you'll actually get an alert on your phone saying, yo, wait, come back here and come get me. Now, lose your phone. You can also press the Tracker button and your phone rings. It's like reverse tracking. It's really, one of these solutions that has thought all of the angles through. With over 1.5 million devices, that mesh GPS, that crowd GPS feature that I talked about, is the largest in the world. So your lost item will show up on a map even if it's miles and miles away. Your phone can track up to 10 devices at once, so you could buy a bunch of trackers and make sure that all the most important gizmos and gadgets have a tracker on them. It's also water resistant in a special case that's available from that for purchase, which makes it perfect for pet collars. You can even add laser engraved messages to each Tracker Bravo, like return or pet info. And of course, since it's enabled by Bluetooth LE, the battery lasts for up to a year. They also recently introduced Tracker Atlas, which works with your Tracker Bravo or third-party Bluetooth tracker to pinpoint your items on a customizable floor plan of your house. Imagine that, not just a GPS map of where it is in the world, but a map of where it is in your house. That's exactly what you get with the Tracker. Folks, never lose a thing again with the Tracker. The hardest thing you'll ever have to find is their website. Go to the Tracker. That's TheTracker.com, and never lose your possessions again. Plus, just for our audience, if you enter the promo code KNOWHOW, you'll get 30% off your entire order. Once again, that's the Tracker, TheTracker.com, promo code KNOWHOW for 30% off your entire Tracker order. Never lose anything again, and we thank Tracker for their support of Know How. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and show you exactly how I build my grow tent. So, you just got yourself a brand new grow tent and you need to set it up. Here are a few things you can do to make your job a little bit easier. We will be setting up this Apollo 4x4x7 grow tent. It's kind of big. This is not something that's going to fit into a closet or onto a small desk. Instead, we're going to be using this space in my workroom. Now, we do have to clear off a bunch of stuff at first because it's not quite ready. You do want to make sure that you've cleared off enough space, because once you get this set up, once you have all the tent material around the poles, it's going to be very difficult to move it around. So if you don't clean up at first, you're going to find yourself juggling. Something else that you might want to consider is getting yourself a little bit of floor protection, especially if you're going to be putting this onto a carpeted surface. I bought a roll of this from Home Depot. It's about $20. It was been treated with Scotch Guard, which will give me a nice way to protect the carpet from the inevitable spills, especially of fertilizers and acids, and even a little bit of soil. It's much easier to vacuum this up or replace it than to replace your really expensive and hopefully nice looking carpet. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get cracking. One of the other things that you need to consider is power. You're going to be drawing a lot of power for your tent, be it the lights, the fans, pumps, whatever accessories that you need for whatever you're growing. Now, you may have outlets that are going to be behind the tent. Once you get your tent set up and once you get plants in it or lights hung, you're not going to want to move it. So you need to plan ahead. Now, this is a standard outlet, so it's going to allow me to hook up multiple power strips to power the various pieces that I'm going to put into the tent. This is not going to do. This sticks out far too much for it to be useful. So instead, I could go down to the local hardware store and get a couple of those right angle plugs that are basically flat up against the socket. That's going to give me a much cleaner connection and the ability to connect multiple power strips from different circuits, not just from the same breaker, in order to spread out the load. Now, consider this before you start setting up, because again, once you have things in the tent, you're not going to want to move it. Power plugs are in and the carpet is down, but one of the things that people often miss during setup is the general cleaning. You see, the tent itself may be an enclosure, but it's going to be drawing air in from the outside. So the more dust that you can remove from the carpet or contaminants from the walls, that's less that can make it into the tent. This is especially important if those contaminants contain things like mold spores, which you want nowhere near your grow. Remember, we're doing an indoor grow because we want the advantages of an indoor growth. That includes year-round growth and the absence of pest and pestilence. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of time into making sure that that doesn't happen. This is the actual tent itself. So this is going to go over the top of the pipes that we're going to assemble into the shape of the tent. And down here we have all of our tent supports. Now, there are instructions that come with every single one of these kits, but because I'm a guy and I don't like asking for help, I'm just going to assume that I can figure it out. Let's do a quick tip. On your cross pieces, these are the pieces that are actually going to hold together the corners of the tent. You'll notice that, at least in the well-manufactured tents, there's always one side that has that little black bottom. That's the side that actually goes on the ground or up to the top. Now, it will work if you put them to the side, but, well, the geometry will be a tiny bit off and it just doesn't look as good. So if you want to avoid having to reassemble the poles after you assemble them, go ahead and put them in the correct orientation. Know that all of these tents are going to follow a certain pattern. You're going to have 8 poles that are typically of the same size. Those are going to be the ones that hold together the bottom and the top of the tent. Now, this is not long enough to get me that 7 feet of coverage that I need, the clearance. So they have this. This is a second type of pole that is designed to be put together. So when you put these two together, you'll actually get the long support, the vertical support pole. And then up top, you've got a third type of pole which has these little clasps on the end. Now, those clasps are so that you can create sort of a support lattice up on top and give yourself some hanging points for lights, fans, pretty much anything that you might need to put into your grow tent. I know you're excited, and the temptation will be to just assemble all of these pieces as quickly as possible, but don't do that. Now that we have our grow space and we have the starting of the interior structure, what we want to do is we want to unzip the tent material, and put it down in the proper space. Again, the reason why we want to do this is that the structure is going to go inside the tent. We don't really want to be dragging the tent around, and we don't have a whole lot of space in this workroom, so we're going to try to assemble in place. This can be a little confusing for first-timers, so just remember that you're going to unzip pretty much everything. This is going to open up like a flower, and then you're going to be able to put the structure inside, and then it sort of stretches over that skeleton, that steel skeleton, to give you your grow tent shape. Now, don't worry, you're not going to destroy this, you're not going to break it. It's designed to take a little bit of abuse. Just don't take any sharp objects to it, and you should be fine. So find yourself a zipper, and go ahead, start pulling. I'm sitting on what is the floor of my tent. You can see here the back and the sides. Now, the more advanced models are going to have various vents and zippers, so don't be fooled. Again, try to find the true bottom piece, the 4x4, the 2x4, whatever it is that you buy. One of the other things to consider here is that as I install the structure pieces, I want to be careful not to poke anything through. In fact, what I would do is you never want to push one of these pieces inside the tent. Rather, assemble that corner outside and then push the corner inside. That's just to reduce the likelihood that you might accidentally punch through the tent, which is definitely a no bueno. This is the assembly for the lower support. So once I put this into the tent, not only will it give me a little bit of rigid structure around the base, but I can start inserting the vertical poles, which will give the structure going up. This back vertical pole is the most difficult because all this material wants to sort of fall in. So be very careful when you're putting this in, because again, you don't want all that pressure to bend either the pole or the connector. Now, once you have your 4 vertical poles up and the ring up top, it means you're ready for the final assembly. Just go ahead and click everything in, and then take the tent material and push it over the top. There you have it. So our tent is assembled. Now all we have to do is zip it up to seal up all the seams around the poles. One of the reasons why I chose this tent is because it has one of these on each side. This allows me to check on the status of my growth, status of my crops, without having to open the main door. When shopping around for your tent, you also want to make sure that they include plenty of these. These are vents, and this is actually double tapered. It's got an inside draw strap and an outside draw strap, which really allows me to cinch it down around 4, 6, or 8-inch pipes. This is, I actually kind of really like. This is a ventilation hole. This already has a mesh screen inside of it. So I can actually use this as my intake if I didn't have to put in an intake fan. This is also a really good way for you to check on your lighting. I like to leave a little bit of a corner untucked so that if I'm inside my room, I can immediately tell whether or not the lighting is on without having to open up the tent. So always look for vent holes and always look for some sort of bug-proof mesh already built into the tent. It saves you from having to add it later in the build. One of the things that you'll probably hear about when you go shopping for tent are light leaks. Now, light leaks are more than just a nuisance. They can actually really mess up your crops. Remember, a lot of the plants that we're growing are photosensitive. They know when it's time to bloom based on how much light they get. So if, for example, you've got a plant that's now flowering and it needs 12 hours of darkness, if in those 12 hours of darkness you've got a light leak, for example, direct sunlight hitting a small spot of the tent, allowing it through, you can mess up your flower cycle. And that's no bueno. The way that they avoid this is by using heavy-duty metal zippers. Don't go for the plastic zippers. They really don't work that well. And this kind of stitching that gives you a little bit of security, because as I zip these together, these two pieces of material will overlap, and even if the zipper is partially left ajar, it should keep light from leaking from the outside in, and vice versa. As I mentioned before, the inside of the tent has all this wonderful reflective mylar type material that makes sure that I don't waste light as it bounces off the ceiling and off the wall. Eventually it should make it to the plants, which is where I want my energy to go. Something else that the Apollo has included, and a lot of other manufacturers do this as well, is a spill mat. This actually folds up and creates a little cradle for the bottom floor. You put it down here so that any spills of water, soil, etc. can be cleaned up after a grow cycle simply by folding this up, taking it outside, and giving it a good rinse. These are one of the hallmarks of well-built tents. There are a lot of imitations out there and a lot of really, well, horrible products that will fail after 1 or 2 grows. Apollo has the reputation as being a well-made tent that includes all the little bells and whistles that growers really enjoy as we get further and further into our growth cycle. Now, the last little bit that we want to do for this particular segment is to install the roof supports. Remember, we're going to be hanging fans and lights from the top. Well, right now, the only way we have to do that is from the poles that make up the sides. That's not good. We want sort of a centrally loaded member that will allow me to hang the hooks and the ropes that I'm going to be using to hold up my fixtures. Installing the cross beams are actually pretty easy. If you'll notice, there's one of these that has a longer dip than the others. That's the beam that's going to go underneath the other two. So that's what I'm going to put in first. Now, in this particular case, I've got 2 light fixtures I'm going to want to hang this way and this way. So I want my cross beams going this way and this way, which means I want my central member to be running straight across the middle. The way I'm going to do that is simply by hooking one end, giving it a little bit of a bend, and then hooking the other. Now, this will allow me to take these other 2 beams, put it over the top of the first one, and now their weight will be supported not just by the 2 beams on which they're resting at the ends, but also by this middle support beam. That's the end of the assembly of this tent. It's now a freestanding structure that will support weight for me to hang on my accessories. Now, in the next episode, we're actually going to outfit this tent. That means putting in the ventilation. It means putting in the lights. And it means putting all of that in before the plants. Believe it or not, it's so much easier for you to assemble the tent fully before you move in any of your green. Until next time, happy growing.
Did you shoot that in the 80s?
I did.
With that audio?
I couldn't help it. Again, because of the grow tent and because it's in such a noisy area,
Yeah.
I kind of had to put a lot of filters.
It sounded like a VHS tape.
That's basically what it was. Seriously, because it was one of these things where that It was really hot in that room. It was like 90 degrees in that room.
So we're lucky you had anything on at all.
I know. I was doing the whole "it's hot in here. Let's take off all our clothes." But when I went to edit, I sat down and remember because I was listening on my headphones, but there was so much fan noise, I couldn't hear the distortion. Yeah. So when I sit down to edit, I'm like, I'm not disassembling the tent to reassemble it. No, we're going with this.
So there's like 12 filters on there or something?
I know how to fix it next time. We're just going to use a PR40.
Yeah, no, it worked. It worked.
Now, in just a bit, we're gonna take Bryan's spider mite-ridden bonsai.
So it's not just that I have neglected it.
No.
There's actually a pest on it.
Well, I mean, aside from the pest that you like because you think it's
cute.
It's
a caterpie.
You know,
Look at him. Okay. He's going to go into his little cocoon stage.
You know what? Maybe he'll help to fight off the aphids along with the spiders.
They're all working together, aren't they?
They are. Yeah.
Before
we get to that, though, let's go ahead and thank another sponsor. Hey, Bryan, you know, before I did this and before I did this,
right,
I was actually a networking guy. I was in enterprise networking.
What?
Yeah, that's what I did. That was my trade. It was my craft. And, well, it's lucrative. It's fun. You know, you get to play with cutting-edge technology. You get to hook up networks. You get to make sure that people can communicate.
It's stuff you're passionate about.
Absolutely passionate. But, you know, I get asked a lot because I also host This Week in Enterprise Tech. How do I get into it? Now, in my days, you got into it just by doing it because there was no one who could teach you how to do it. But these days, you know, people think, should I apprentice? Should I go take certifications? Should I maybe sit in for a class or two? Right. And those are all good options. But what if I told you that there was a resource on the internet that was sort of like Wikipedia for everything you needed to know about every networking problem, every communications technology, every switch, every router, every firewall?
And you could watch it at your own convenience and get a certificate like being an ethical hacker?
Yeah, you know, what if I said that existed?
I say I'd want to browse through those videos because I have. It's IT Pro TV.
It is indeed. IT Pro TV is your one-stop shop. Whether it's something that you want to learn new or a repository for information you need to reference, IT Pro TV knows exactly what professionals need. IT Pro TV looks a lot like Twit because they're fans of Twit. They built their site, they built their business model after what they saw when they visited us here in the Brick House. Oh, they understand that a good IT pro needs constant learning, and that's what they're trying to give you. They give you the best way to stay up to date with current technologies and with certifications. If you're trying to break into the IT world, then IT Pro TV's high-quality video tutorials will bring you closer to achieving that new IT job that you've been working towards. They've got over 1,000 hours of content and more than 30 hours that are added each and every single week. You can stream courses live and on demand worldwide to your Chromecast or Roku, your Amazon Fire TV, your Apple TV, or your PC. That means that you can learn at your own pace, on your own device, exactly when you want to learn. That's the best way to squeeze that knowledge into your brain. Their August courses include topics like CCENT, CCNA, router and switching, CISM, and CEH version 9. Their transcripts let you follow from start to finish or jump to any part of the video, and they've got 100 plus step-by-step virtual machine labs and transcender practice exams, which is a $109 value, which they give you for free with your subscription. Now, you can take advantage of their low monthly subscription price and no hassle cancellation policy. And when I say no hassle, I mean no hassle. They're not one of these companies that's going to try to trap you behind multiple phone calls and transfers and call drops. It's simply, well, if you don't need us anymore, we'll stop billing you. If you're currently signed up for an enterprise account with an IT Pro TV competitor and they're subjecting you to a rate increase, don't put up with it. IT Pro TV will match your previous year's pricing on that account so that you and your team can learn at an affordable rate. Their subscriptions are still the best value, but they also offer their videos on Amazon Prime Direct Video, one of the very first, actually the first IT professional company to do just that. Their clients include Harvard, MIT, UCSD, Stanford, Twit, and more. If we trust IT Pro TV, don't you think you should too? Check out itpro.tv/knowhow to access the most popular IT certifications of the day. Premium subscriptions are normally $57 a month or $570 per year, but we've got a special offer. Try it free for nothing for 7 days when you sign up using our code KNOWHOW30. You'll also receive 30% off the lifetime of your account. That's less than $40 per month or $3.99 for the entire year. Just visit itpro.tv/knowhow and use the code KNOWHOW30 to try it free for 7 days, plus save 30% off the life of your account. Your new life in IT begins today. And we thank IT Pro TV for their support of Know-How. All right, Bryan. In front of me, we've got this, which I'm now afraid of, probably.
Bonsai.
Now that you've pointed out to me, I actually can see the little webs from the spider bites, which
Is that bad?
means I have to burn these clothes. So thank you for that. That's fun. But you were having a problem before this, and that problem that you thought was maybe because you'd been putting pH on adjusted water.
I was just straight out of the tap watering it like every other day.
Right, and it's also got like timed release fertilizer, so...
It came that way. I went to Japantown and bought it. They said I wouldn't have to fertilize it for about 6 months because it, I guess, was already pre-fertilized, had like the little pellets or something in it. And after, about five months, the end started to get brown. Obviously wasn't growing very well, and I wasn't sure what to do. Now I'm sad.
Now you're sad because this plant is probably going to die.
What?
Well, the spider mites. But
good.
okay, let's give it a fighting chance, because here's the thing. Again, remember what I told you, pests tend to be opportunistic. They go after weaker plants. They go after plants that are showing signs of distress. They go after plants that have leaves and stems that are not really healthy. So if we can make your plant a little healthier, it'll be easier to fight off the pests once you start adding things like neem oil.
Okay. So what? We don't have any neem oil right now?
We don't. But what we do have is we have a way to find out whether or not you're salt locked. So what we've been doing is, because this soil is so compact, since this morning, since you brought in this plant, I've been slowly pouring in water, and I've been getting all this runoff.
Yeah.
That runoff is actually super, super important, because what it allows me to do is I'm going to do both a pH and a TDS measurement of that runoff. And that should tell me more or less what's going on inside the soil.
All right.
Which is important because, it's difficult since I can't take the roots out.
Yeah.
To figure out, is the soil, is it too moist? Is it acidic? Is it basic? Do I have to worry about total dissolved salts?
I feel like this is an episode of House. We're diagnosing. We're going to save this plant. We're not going to let you die.
No, we're totally going to let you die.
What?
All right. No, we'll try to save it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to make all the runoff go into one corner here.
Looks juicy.
Look at that, Bryan.
It's all brothy.
It's bonsai juice. This is like manky candy.
Manky candy.
All right, so what we're going to do is we've got our pH meter. Let's find out what we're measuring at. Okay, so that's not so bad. So your pH is actually pretty good. 6.5, 6. Actually, this is pretty much perfect. And remember what I said about the buffering effect of soil.
Yeah.
So even though you were pouring in, straight tap water, which around here is probably 8 and up,
The soil has diffused it.
It was diffused it enough to keep it nice and acidic, the way that the plant likes it. So let's go ahead and check out your TDS. Now, here's the thing. We kind of want this to be bad, because if this is bad, this tells us that there's a way to fix this.
If it's not bad, then that means
the spider mites and the aphids may
have taken over.
Yeah, they may have done in your plant. So let's go ahead and find out what your TDS looks like. I'd say anything over 300 to 400 at this point would probably be indicative of a problem. So let's see what we got.
It's 0, Padre. It's 0. It's the mites. They got it.
I put hold. Wait, stop it. There we go.
Oh, okay. Phew.
Okay. Let it measure. Hold on. Give it time.
It's still 0. Oh, 169.
Oh,
It's low.
It's not 0, but that's not bad.
So it's not the soil that's the problem.
No.
It's not the pH that's the
I
problem.
think it's your infestation.
Why is my plant dying, Padre?
Because there's a bunch of spider mites that are eating it.
You can't let them
Sorry,
win.
man. I mean, if this had been high, it would have been. It looks like you're okay. So your watering's been okay. You are actually dying from an infestation.
So what do we do now? What the heck do we do now?
Do you have some gasoline and a mat?
I don't have power of attorney over this bonsai.
I'm so sorry.
Is it time to pull the plug on it?
Well, definitely keep it away from the other plants we have. Keep it away from that, because we don't want spider mites on our little arrow garden.
I can't lose this bonsai. Just doesn't get any easier.
I will get you some neem.
Yeah.
And I will show you. Actually, we'll show you how to do it. We'll do a special
like
segment
prune
of
back
Grow
some
How.
stuff. Too?
We're gonna have to prune back a little bit. We want to give this plant the best chance of survival. So, see, that shouldn't be happening.
And my little caterpillar dude just fell. Oops.
Oh, you killed your caterpie.
Sorry, caterpillar. I'll put you back up here.
But why are you putting the pest back into the plant?
Well, it wasn't his fault, is it? It was the spider mites.
I mean, at this point, I'm wondering what other kinds of pests do you have in your apartment?
Besides my dog?
Besides your dog. Okay, so you know what? I am going to do this, though. I'm giving you this. It's a pH meter. So from now on, at least you can
Test out my water.
test out your water, make sure that you're putting in the right amount. I'll go ahead and get you some pH down. I can't give you that huge bottle. I'll get you a dropper so it's
Thank
easier
you.
for you to measure. But again, we're going to try to give this the best chance it has, which means giving it the right water, which means trimming back all the diseased branches. Thank you, Kara.
It's a little premature, but yeah.
And actually, Buriku actually has a good suggestion. If you didn't want to use neem, because neem can be a little bit tricky, the pyrethrin sprays actually work really, really well too.
Pyrethrin spray.
Yeah. Essentially, you want something that's not a pesticide, because pesticides on plants don't mix really well.
Bad.
You want something nice and gentle that will create a layer that your pests are not going to want to get through. And you know, the fact that thank you for pointing them out. The fact that you have active webs from spider mites.
That's bad.
There's probably spider mites in here, and you can't see them. They're really, really small.
And so the parts of the tree that are brown, should I cut those away, or is it? They kind of just fall off.
They're just gonna fall off. So.
Oh.
See,
geez.
that's how you tell when it's dead. When it just
that's not going to grow back, huh?
That's not coming back. That's
wow.
dead. That's
Okay, you know what? You don't have to rub it in.
But you know, yeah.
Oh, it's so
I
sad.
feel really bad because I was hoping it was a pH problem, but no. When you mentioned that you had spider webs, that's
So I shouldn't have touched all the other plants in the studio.
probably not. Yeah, those peas are probably gonna die now. Thanks. You've become the plague. You've become the bringer of death.
That's right. Don't defy me.
Well, folks, this has been a less than successful episode of Grow How because we're now going to kill all our crops.
We don't know yet. This could still survive. That's why you should stay tuned to see if the bonsai makes it. It's still got a lot of green on here. What are you talking about? It could be all right.
Yeah, it's like saying, oh man, look, his leg is torn off, but the rest of him looks okay.
Yeah, you got 2 legs. You don't need both of them.
Folks, we know that this has been a lot of information, everything from all the know-how stuff on picking your tent to setting one up to figuring out that your plant is going to die of a spider mite infestation. But we want to make it easier for you to get all this information. You just go to our show notes, and where do they find those, Bryan?
Well, they can find show notes and my tiers at twit.tv/KH. And that's where all the prior episodes are also. And if you don't want to miss the episode to see if my bonsai survives, which it most certainly will, you'll probably want to subscribe.
We'll give it a try. I mean, we're not going to give up on it. I know you
can't give up on you.
You can't give up on it. Also, don't forget that you can find us in our Know How group. Just go to Google Plus and look for Know How. It's a fantastic place. Over 10,200 members.
It's crazy.
It's a fantastic area for you to post pictures of your projects, which we can put on the show.
Pictures
Videos
of your
are even better.
bonsais that are not dead.
Yes, actually, let's do this. Everyone watching right now, if you have a bonsai, please take a picture of it and put it on our Google Plus group so Bryan knows what it should look like.
Right. If you have dead ones, do that too.
Yes, please. And actually, I'm sorry, Kara, we got to move back just one bit because this is a quick one. There is that last link under Bryan's Bonsai. This is a fantastic resource that I found. They call it the Bonsai Outlet.
Ooh.
This is every species of bonsai. And if you click, go ahead and just click on one of those, Kara.
See if you can find see if you can find juniper.
See, it gives you the growing guide. So all the information about watering, what pH does it like, what ppms does it like, what kind of light does it like. This is a great way for you to figure out.
I think that's the one I have. Is it?
No, because that one's alive.
Well, that helps. I have a juniper one.
Okay, but back to the outro.
Sorry.
So we were talking about the Google Plus group, but that's not the only place you can find us.
No, if you want periodic updates of my bonsai, you'll probably want to follow me on Twitter. And that's at cranky_hippo.
And you can find me at Padre Estre _ Bryan's Bonsai is dead.
Hashtag bonsai is forever.
And we've got a third member of our crew who, by the way, this is her birthday. Kara Cole turns 22.
Happy birthday.
I'm actually 42.
Wow.
That's,
No, I'm 25.
Oh, that works.
So I can rent a
right.
car. Hey, yo, I can rent a car today. Yeah.
Nice.
Drive around.
And you're a
yeah.
producer?
And she's a producer. And you know what else, Bryan? She doesn't have any spider mites.
We don't know
Not.
that for sure.
Also, thanks for killing your tree on my birthday. So that's nice.
I totally planned it that way.
Oh,
R.I.P. Bonsai. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Until next time, I'm Father Kill the Bonsai Balancer.
And I'm Bryan Burnett.
And now that you know how,
Don't kill it. Don't kill your friend unless it's a priest.